Hey everyone, welcome on in to another episode of Auburn Anonymous. I am your host, Miles Espy. You can find me on Twitter at AshtonDanielsAA. I'm joined today by my co-host, Mr. Michael Espy. You can find him on Twitter at JacksonArnoldAA. We're very excited to announce that we have our first sponsor, and we can now officially say that Auburn Anonymous is sponsored by My Pillow, which is the official pillow of Auburn Anonymous. Going to give a quick shout out to some of the sales he has going on right now, Mr. Mike Lindell on the MyPillow website, all with the promo code AAKNOWS. You can get the pre-Kel bed sheets, closeout sale, all colors, all sizes for $25. The premium MyPillow sale, the queen size for $19.98, the king size for $24.98, the classic standard pillow, $17.98 is the price on that. His My Slippers, which are usually $150, you can get them all the way down for $59.98. And then also you can get his My Cross necklace. You can save 20% off of that. And then one other thing I forgot to mention as well. My Pillow has just launched their first ever energy drinks. You can get those. You can get a 3-pack of those for 30% off. All of those with the promo code AAKNOWS. Now that we got that out of the way, the official sponsor of Auburn Anonymous, exciting stuff.
I just wanted to say, I've always used My Pillow even before the sponsorship deal we recently broke. Honestly, a solid pillow. Would recommend to all out there.
Yeah, now I've slept with it for years now. I mean, Mike Lindell's he's a great character, a great person. So it made us very excited when his team reached out to us about sponsoring. So yeah, I sleep on a My Pillow every night. I've gotten the best sleep of my life on a My Pillow, and it's perfect for the low price point and the great discounts you can always get on their website. Again, the promo code is AAKNOWS, everyone. Well, it's been a while since we've last been on. We went to the Final Four, watched our Auburn Tigers do that, and of course the basketball season's over now. The Florida Gators are the national champions. What are your quick thoughts on how the basketball season went?
Yeah, well, we brought our podcast gear out to San Antonio, planning on doing a reaction show after the loss, and we were just so down we didn't even want to stay for the end of that Houston-Duke game. And, we're kind of in a dead period right now where sports in general aren't as exciting. We obviously have Auburn baseball, but that's just kind of something to get us to football season. We have the NBA playoffs are starting, and I know neither of us are huge NBA guys, but yeah, I still think we're a better team than Florida at the end of the day. I just think Walter Clayton, both times we played him, he had the game of his life. Obviously Houston has a good defense, but the shots he was hitting versus Auburn aren't consistently shots he's going to be able to hit at the next level or that he consistently hit all year. He had his career high versus Auburn, and, it was his night. And, we played pretty good, obviously, the first half. With Bruce Pearl, depth has always been a big thing. And the past few years, you always heard him talk about, hey, you come to Auburn, you're going to play 25 minutes, and there's going to be a backup right behind you playing the same amount of minutes. But in this NIL era where you have to pay players, it's going to be hard to find 10 equally good players every single year. And so I don't know if we're going to see as much of that in the upcoming years, and that obviously played a factor in the game. I thought Broome was clearly gassed by the end of that second half. For the last 10 minutes there, just was throwing up shots. They were ugly. Kelly just was cold all NCAA tournament long. We really needed him. But obviously, gratefully came to Auburn. Still a successful season, Final Four, second of all time, most Final Fours of any team in the state of Alabama. So successful season, a little disappointing. But at this point, I think if Bruce Pearl can keep getting these Final Fours, eventually he can break through and get that national championship. I don't know how many more years he has left in him, but I think Stephen Pearl will be the coach next, and I think it'll continue. So I think we'll eventually break through and at least get to the national championship game. But still, a little disappointing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, there's no question. It was a disappointing end. I do agree with you with the sentiment of it's, especially now that we've had time to reflect. All in all, it was a very positive season. We are SEC champions. We're the Maui champions. When you win the number one overall seed in the NCAA tournament, you're effectively the regular season national champion. And that's an honor that Auburn got to take home this year. And when you look at how Auburn played, early in the year when they were fully healthy, Auburn was the best team in the country. Auburn was way better than Florida, quite frankly. But throughout the grind of a season, Auburn's team got fatigued, had some injuries and stuff. And when you factor in all the injuries towards the end of the season, Florida was the best team in the country. But when you look at when all teams were healthy, Auburn was the best. So, I mean, it just depends on how you look at things. And, managing injuries and that kind of thing it's part of how things go. So that's why Florida's the champions, even though Auburn was clearly the better team when they were fully healthy. But it doesn't take away from the season. Very good season, historic season. Auburn now has twice as many Final Fours as the big rivals, the Crimson Tide. That's always good. It's always exciting.
Yeah, I just wanted to put one more thing. I think Janai Broome should have his number retired. I think he's the greatest our most successful basketball player in the history of Auburn. Maybe not the best, but over a 3-year period, what he did was absolutely insane. And we got way more out of him than we expected. And the funny thing is, his final two are Auburn and Florida. So just imagine him on the Florida team this year.
God.
Yeah.
They would have been good. Turning the page on that, transfer portal. That's the big thing everyone's looking at now. You have players going left and right. And as a matter of fact, if I remember correctly, I saw you logged a prediction on Twitter for a player. I'm going to let you do that first and kind of give your explanation for that. And then I have a surprise for you afterwards.
Yeah, I logged a prediction in for Keyshawn Murphy, last year's sixth man on Mississippi State. Averaged 11.7 points per game and 7.5 rebounds. I launched a prediction on him to commit to Auburn. One, he's from the Birmingham, Alabama area, so I think we have some connections there. And I know he'd love to stay. From talking to sources, he'd love to stay in state so his family could watch him play a lot of games this upcoming year. But he was a guy that really stuck out to me when Auburn played Mississippi State at home. I mean, when we played them at home this year, just because. I was watching this guy, and I mean, he was great around the rim. And talking to guys over at Mississippi State, they think he's a first rounder if he can develop a 3-point shot. But he doesn't have that 3-point shot quite yet. But neither did Broome when he showed up to Auburn. And so, in all seriousness, you see how bigs develop under Bruce Pearl and his coaching staff. So, man, if he can get a shot, he's already great around the rim. He's a pretty solid defender. He was easily Mississippi State's best big man. It was just kind of one of those things like Thomas Howell and Todd Pettiford coming off the bench just for a little spark off the bench. But great scorer and 11.7 points per game in the amount of minutes he played was great. I would expect him to come in right away and either start at the 4 or the 5, probably the 5. And we have a couple of other guys we're looking at. We got a JUCO center coming in for a visit here soon. Was an all-conference JUCO player. Now, doesn't sound great. He only averaged 9 points per game and 8 rebounds a game.
Defensive specialist, though, right?
Yeah, but he averaged over 3 blocks per game. Wow. And was the best defensive player in JUCO. He's 7 foot. I'm not exactly sure how long his wingspan is. But, I would love to have him come in and, if anything, be a backup center. Would be a great addition. I know we got that D2 guy, name I'm not remembering right now off the top of my head, if I'm being honest, but I know he visited Tennessee before he came to Auburn. There was a picture of him and Rick Barnes at Cracker Barrel. So I know he's obviously considering some top schools, and Auburn's done pretty good with D2 guys in the past, obviously. So would be another great addition for depth, but.
And that guy, the guy, the 7-footer, I had to mention his name's Emeka Apurum, and if you look at him, he looks like he's like 40 years old. You probably noticed that. That's just. I mean, of course, it's not just the fact that he's 7 foot tall, but in the face, he just looks so old. But I think he'd be kind of like a Cardwell type role. He probably not as good as Cardwell, but have that same kind of role.
We like the older guys, and so another one more I've seen is Rodney Rice. Was a starting guard for Maryland this year. I don't think he'll come to Auburn, but he announced his top 6 and Auburn was in it. And so, who knows? We could end up pursuing hard last minute. Another guy to watch for, was the Wilkinson guy from Sam Houston State, averaged like 21 a game. Just announced before this podcast that he will no longer be visiting Auburn. So probably either Indiana or Kentucky there was the guy we were looking for. But there'll be plenty of other guys here in the mix. I wouldn't rule out Ja'Kai Howard just yet. I think Ja'Kai Howard, to be honest, I think he would stay at Auburn if he knew Chad Baker Mazara wasn't coming back. I think Chad Baker Mazara most likely will come back, but I mean you can't blame the kid because Chad Baker plays the exact same position as him, and
Sure.
he doesn't want to come back. And I mean he's an NBA prospect. He doesn't want to be getting bench minutes again. But I do think Bruce Pearl and the staff would love to keep him. And right now getting Tahad Pettiford back would be huge. You saw today that LeBaron Philon announced he's all NBA, keeping no eligibility.
Wild. Which is wild.
Yeah, I mean, there's some in mock drafts. I saw a mock draft come out the other day that didn't have him in the first or second round. Now I think
I wouldn't want him. I mean, what did he do? I mean, he was a slightly better version of Aiden Holloway.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want him, but
I
each their own.
think Tahad Pettiford might be the best player in his class, at least the highest ranked NBA guy in his class to come back to college if he does. And it's kind of wild because it's like LeBaron Philon could easily come back to college and make millions of dollars.
Oh, dude, he could be a 7-figure guy.
Yeah.
And I do want to throw in there quickly about Ja'Kai Howard. You alluded to this, but you can't blame the guy whatsoever because, I mean, he could so easily go to some Power 5 school start and make 6 figures. I mean, you just can't blame the guy if he were to leave.
Yeah,
And he might make that at Auburn. I don't know what he makes at Auburn. He might make that, but he's going to be getting bench minutes, and he can go and start somewhere and get more, you know?
Yeah. And, I mean, speaking of Alabama's roster, just here for a minute, I mean, wow. I mean, I knew they were going to lose some guys, but they lost everyone. They lost...
Well, sorry, you
but,
go.
I mean, they lost Jaron Stevenson. They lost Mo Diabate. They've lost LeBaron Philon. I mean, these were supposed to be the 3 main guys for them coming back next year. And so I know they're also scrambling around. And they're trying to get Keyshawn Murphy too. I mean, I think he's almost an Auburn lock as long as he passes his academics. As long as the university is in good standings with his academics, he'll be at Auburn. But Alabama's trying to get him too. And you saw Jaron Stevenson committed to North Carolina, Diabate to Kentucky. And I'm hearing Reed could possibly end up at UGA, which would be kind of a shocker. But, I think most of these SEC rosters next year in general won't be as good as this year because this year you had 2 classes of seniors. And almost all of these guys were the guys. If you looked at almost every starting lineup in the SEC, it had 3 seniors at least. And so I think there's going to be some guys who come out this year, kind of like Ja'Kai Howard, who may have averaged like a couple points a game that'll end up being, top college basketball stars this year.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely, because we know of Ja'Kai Howard, but a lot of other schools have it, and I'm sure that other schools have their little hidden gems like that. But you talking about Alabama's roster wanted to lead me into my segue. A little surprise I have for you. I have never logged a prediction in my life, a recruiting prediction, but I'm ending that today. Alabama, I am giving my crystal ball to land Rylan Griffin from the Kansas Jayhawks, who was previously a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And so here's my story. I was, as I do Sunday mornings, working at Church of the Highlands parking team, and my phone's just blowing up the whole time. And it's my connection. I have a connection within the Alabama basketball team. Now, one of the perks of the podcasting gig is, I've actually made a handful of connections of my own. And he told me, he asked me not to share. But
you're sharing anyway.
yeah, I'm not sharing everything he told me, but I'm sharing some of it. Rylan Griffin, as soon as he entered the portal, Nate Oates got his phone out and, it was just instantly like, please come back. I'm sure it wasn't exactly what he was saying, but it was the moment Nate Oates saw Rylan Griffin enter the portal, he was calling him like, hey, let's run it back, come back, we want you. And I have heard that they have made him an NIL offer he can't refuse, and he's, I believe, visiting, or at least he either is about to visit or he just visited campus, which that makes no sense to me. Like, he was there a couple years ago. Like, he knows the campus, but anyways, he's all but a sure thing to come back to Alabama. So that's let's see if I can go 1 for 1. Rylan Griffin to the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Hey, you'll have if you get that, you'll have a higher percentage than me. I mean, 93 of 97 is pretty good, but not bad, not 100%.
Yeah, you can't beat 1 of 1. If I get it right, I'm gonna have to probably never log a prediction ever again.
No,
but
fair.
Wanted to put that out there. So
right off the rip, just one question I had for you. we'll clip this and save it. Right now, who do you predict to be the Wooden Award winner for next year's college basketball season?
Woo, that is a tough task. Todd Pettiford.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna go Braden Smith, but yeah, I think it could. I mean, it really could be Todd if he comes back.
Yes, look, you're taking a shot in the dark. I think he's the best player in college basketball next year.
It'll be interesting to see if he puts up shots like Josh Hubbard puts up shots, or if I think he'll be distributing a lot next year. I'm really curious to see how good this Bashir guy is. I think he's going to be massive for Auburn next year. I kind of wish we got his brother at this point, but it is what it is. You got to trust the coaching staff, but
for sure. And one last comment I have for basketball. You might have more, and that's okay. Before we move on, the one other thing I want to say is I've thought about how this Auburn team's going to take a step back next year, and I think we won't be quite as good. But I think really the whole SEC as a whole is going to take a step back next year. I mean, and that's not a controversial comment because we were so good this past year. But if you look at Florida, all that they've lost, I mean, they're not going to be able to replace everything that they're losing, especially Walter Clayton. Alabama, I mean, as you mentioned, their roster's unloading. Tennessee's losing a lot. I mean, it's just, while Auburn might not be as good next year, I think Auburn's in a very real position to win the SEC again.
Yeah, it's like, who is supposed to be good next year? I think obviously Houston brought in a great recruiting class, and they returned almost everyone outside of LJ Cryer. So I think they'll be a very good team next year. But
Purdue should be really good.
Yeah, it's hard.
I think Mississippi State. I thought this past year, and I was wrong. I think Mississippi State's going to be really hard to beat. I mean, they have Hubbard. Hubbard's someone I really like. Of course, they're losing Keyshawn Murphy. But
I was about to tell you, they don't have anyone else on their team coming back. Other than
I love Hubbard though. You're right.
Fair.
But I love Hubbard. I'm a big Hubbard guy. Ole Miss should be really good. I don't know what they're losing. I mean, they weren't perfect this past year, but I mean, Chris Beard's an awesome coach.
Yeah, he's portaling a whole nother roster again.
And I'm sure it'll be a good one.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We have a lot of time for the rosters to form. But do you have any other thoughts on college basketball before we kick it to a couple other things?
No, other than I just think Auburn will be a top 25 team next year. They'll be in the top 25 all year, but I don't think they'll be a team that's... I mean, it's going to be hard to beat being number one over half the season ever again.
Absolutely. I agree. Moving on to top 25 teams. Let's talk about this Auburn baseball team. Let's ask a question that I ask every podcast. Did you watch any of the Auburn LSU series this past weekend?
No. I did get ESPN Plus, though, so I am able to watch college baseball now, but I did not just because it wasn't on YouTube TV. This weekend, I was busy. I wasn't able to watch, but I did see the results, and I saw your X post as well.
Yeah, it's funny how sensitive LSU fans are. I mean, I'm scrolling through. I'm not even trying to pick a fight, but I see where LSU, they posted the final score to the first game. I just happened to stumble upon that post right after they lost, and I just put like a little simple comment, like clearly trolling them, saying like, "Oh wow, y'all are horrible," something like. Yeah, you wish we played y'all every single game, and their record's like 31-3 before the series starts. Of course, I think they're 31-6 now, something like that. And then there's so many of them, there's hordes of them coming after me saying, "Oh, we're in a slump. Ever heard of it? Like we've won 7 national championships in baseball," and I'm just like, I'm clearly messing with y'all. I mean, like. Yeah, you scored like 3 runs on us all weekend, and y'all look like absolute garbage. But I know y'all can turn it up. But more importantly, what a weekend for our Auburn baseball team. The offense was very good, but then the pitching was out of this world against a very strong LSU team. And not to mention, got a little bit of personal animus there because their star center fielder, Chris Stanfield, was once a standout on the Auburn Tigers. So that was a fun kind of get back. Other news in baseball, because we've been gone for, I think, 3 weeks at this point. We have won every single SEC series so far, except for Georgia. We lost the series at Georgia. We did get swept. And look, I'm not one for moral victories. That's a bad thing. But Georgia is a top 5 team. It was on the road, and all 3 games that we lost we were within striking range. They didn't blow us out 8-1 or anything. It was all kind of a 1 or 2 run loss. I think one of the 3 games they won by like 4 runs, but I think the game was tied like in the 8th inning and they hit like a grand slam or 3-run home run or something like that late to kind of put the distance. So we really looked good, and we've locked up at this point a trip to Hoover, and we're looking very strong to get a regional, if not a super regional. So very, very exciting. You're picking a good time to start watching the Tigers.
Are they still only doing 12 SEC baseball teams with now they've added Oklahoma and Texas?
You know what? I'm going to let you talk about whatever you want to talk about for the next 30 seconds. It could be whatever sport, whatever. And while you do that, I'll look that up on my phone.
Got you. Yeah, it'll be just exciting to go to the tournament this year in Hoover. I remember last year when it came up, obviously I knew we were terrible, but I didn't realize that we weren't going to be playing at all in Hoover. And I remember we live in Birmingham. Some of my friends asked if I wanted to go to the SEC tournament. I just had no motivation to go because Auburn wasn't in it. But it's crazy how they've been able to transform this roster with the transfer portal. And it seems like every other game we play now, we're playing a former Auburn player. So it seems like we don't have many of the players we had from the previous years.
Yeah, it's whirling just like anything else. And I looked it up. So for some of our listeners, they may have already known this. For me, I'm kind of dumbfounded now because I don't know if you remember in the past, it's been a double elimination tournament. It looks like all 16 teams are included. It's basically the same structure as the SEC basketball tournament. All 16 teams are included. It's single elimination. It'll be fun. Every game means everything. So it'll be fun. I really hope Auburn gets the evening games for 2 reasons. Because reason number 1, as some people have said in the comments, don't quit your day job. Well, I do have a day job. We don't do this full time, and I don't want Auburn to play when I have to be at work. So we can make it. But then on top of that, I want to be able to. The night games are so fun. Like to me, the vibes at like a 7 p.m. game are so much better than a 10 a.m. Opening game. So really hoping we are able to secure maybe like a 2 or 3 seed because I think those would get night games. So that would be kind of the goal. But yeah, it's a super fun event to attend. I've attended a couple times. Real good time. Do you have anything else on baseball before we kick it off to something else? I know it's not something we talked a ton about, but now that basketball season's over with, I know we'll be spending more time on it.
Really, I just wanted to say, if Auburn has a good football team this year, they've got to be top 5 in the nation as far as like trios with football, basketball, and baseball. Obviously, Florida's up there. Tennessee would be another team. I think that's up there. Texas, they're not great at basketball, but they're so good at baseball and football. Kind of the same for Georgia. But I think Auburn has to be up there, top 5, trifecta of all 3 sports combined.
Yeah, that's going to be a great lead into the next thing we talk about. First, I do want to briefly say that going forward, I know we haven't really had a chance to watch it so far just because of the Final Four going on. And this past weekend, we had stuff going on, but we do plan on talking about some Birmingham Stallion football on Auburn Anonymous going forward. We are fans of football in the state of Alabama. We both live in the Birmingham area, so we figured why not. But we aren't going to be talking about that today, despite their great come-from-behind win in Birmingham this past weekend, because neither you or I watched it, just all the highlights.
I did watch it.
I'm a dirty liar. Do you have anything you want to add real quick on that before we kick it over to Auburn football? And SEC football, should I say.
Yeah. Kind of for the UFL rules, they're obviously a lot different. And the way Birmingham won that game just seemed like the UFL needs to change this rule, to be completely honest with you. I don't know if you saw how they had that game-ending drive, but it all started with it was 4th down, and Matt Corral, or it may have been 3rd down, but Matt Corral throws an interception. But in the UFL, in the final few minutes of the game, you can review flags. If there's an obvious flag, the booth will just review it. And so the flag was on Birmingham for false start. Even though they threw the interception, Birmingham got the ball back because of their own false start. The interception didn't count. Birmingham gets the ball back.
So it had to be 3rd down because they got it back on 4th down and converted. I saw where they converted on the 4th down. It must be that it was like 4th and 11, and they converted.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like the play never happened.
But the play. Oh, I see. I'm an idiot. So 4th and 6. You're right. You're 100% right. It was
Yeah,
4th
it's
and
like
6.
the play. It was like the play never happened. It was insane. I thought Birmingham honestly didn't deserve to win that game, but I guess Matt Corral came up when it mattered. There was a busted coverage, but yeah, I think Birmingham really needs to get Alex Magoo back. Just a better QB than Corral. I mean, which is surprising. I thought Corral would make it in the NFL, at least as a backup. But we definitely miss Adrian Martinez, that's for sure.
Yeah, we need him back. I did not know that. I will say I disagree. I like the rule. No, did Birmingham kind of use it? Did it get? It worked to Birmingham's advantage, but I kind of like it. They try to do things to be a little different than the NFL. They started off doing the weird kickoff thing, but now the NFL's doing that. So they got to find a few other things. Also, when you attend the game there, I love how whenever you review it, they stick the review on the Jumbotron. You can hear what they're saying and thinking. So you kind of know what it's going to be before they call it. But interesting. I didn't watch the game, so I didn't know that. So that's a astute observation there. All right. So do we have a list? Do we have a list to provide?
Yeah, well, I wanted to, since we're going to start, we're going to talk about college football real quick, and we're going to do the SEC power rankings post-spring football. Obviously, there's a few teams that still have spring games left.
The Auburn Anonymous rankings.
Yeah, you get the picture. And but a couple of things just wanted to get your thoughts on. One, Auburn has a game versus South Alabama this season, and that was the game I wasn't obviously nervous about, but they had a really good quarterback in Gio Lopez, and he entered the transfer portal today. So I think that makes that game a whole lot easier for Auburn. Rumors are he's going to go to North Carolina. He was a freshman this past year and had a really good, one of the best non-Power 5 quarterbacks. So just a note, I think that makes that game a little bit easier. And then I just wanted to get your thoughts on this Nico situation.
Oh, man. I don't know. We have not discussed this, so I'll be curious to see if you agree. But I say good for Tennessee. I mean, Nico pushed his luck. Nico is a fine quarterback. He's not great. They were paying him, from my understanding, a little over $2 million as it is. That's more than fair, more than what he deserves, quite frankly. I mean, if you look at the games last year, he's a decent runner. Could he make the simple pass? Yeah, most of the time. But could he throw it downfield? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And then the entitlement to start after you've essentially signed a contract saying $2 million or whatever it was, to say I'm not showing up unless it's $4 million. All while Tennessee, I'm not exactly sure on the name. I know they have a 5-star quarterback sitting on the bench. Good on Tennessee for saying, look, if you're going to be this way, get off the team. Go find somewhere else to play. And now it's going to be tough for him to find a spot somewhere else because I feel like it's going to be like an attitude thing. People are going to know he wants $4 million. And then on top of that, he's going to want to be a starting quarterback. And no team in their right mind is going to want to take a guy to be their starting quarterback April before this football season. They're going to want someone who's been there for spring ball. So I hate it for Nico, but also play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Good for Tennessee for standing up and saying, no, we got a perfectly good player on the bench. We'll roll with him. Good luck. What are your thoughts?
So one, I just wanted to say, this isn't even about me trying to talk about Auburn, but this is a fact. Peyton Thorne is the most successful quarterback to commit anywhere in the spring so far. I mean, it just hasn't been a thing. Maybe it'll pick up this year with the transfer portal. Just seems more and more people are entering. So, but yeah, my thoughts were, so first you see an article come out that Nico is considering entering the transfer portal. And then Nico's dad comes out on Twitter and he gets mad at Pete Nakos, calling him names, saying this isn't true. And then the next day, Nico doesn't even show up to practice and tries to hold out. And so obviously the reports were true. And so then it's confusing. I mean, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Tennessee's probably just going to pay him the $4 million. They're kind of screwed if they don't, you know? And they probably are going to lose a game or two that they wouldn't have lost this year without Nico. I mean, they could start the 5-star freshman. They got another guy, too, who's, wasn't a high-ranked recruit. And but, I mean, I would have done exactly what Tennessee did. They tell him no. So it's going to cause a domino effect in two different ways. Now I'm hearing Tennessee has $2 to $2.5 million potentially to offer to an April transfer quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see who they go tamper with. I don't think they'll go and get anyone too good. I think ideally for Tennessee, if I'm Tennessee, I'm starting George McIntyre, the 5-star freshman.
Okay.
He was a 4-star on some sites, 5-star on some sites. I would just roll with him and just go ahead and give him a ton of experience. Personally, like if Auburn was in this situation and Arnold just left, I mean, I think we would obviously just start Deuce Knight. Mm-hmm. But I think I think they'll go and get someone too. I don't think it'll be anyone that's too good. And from what I've heard on Nico's side of things, is that North Carolina, they told him no. Texas Tech, they're not interested. And so I'm hearing the top 2 schools for Nico right now are UCLA and Tulane. And I don't think he's going to get even $2 million at either of those. Maybe UCLA. But I could really see Nico landing at Tulane. Obviously, what happened with TJ Finley isn't great. So Tulane's in a tough spot at quarterback. And they actually do have some money for an American Conference team. And they're going to be the best team in the preseason. They'll probably be the number 1 team in the American Conference.
If they're willing to take someone like TJ Finley, they obviously don't care about going after someone with, a little sketchy character. So that might be that would be the landing spot I would think he would land at. And then the other thing I kind of want to say also, if you're Tennessee, like if Nico's your quarterback versus this 5-star guy, could Nico win you 1 or 2 more games? Maybe. I mean, compared to this other guy, maybe. I would say probably. But is Nico going to win you a national championship? Absolutely not. Is he going to get you to the college football playoff? Maybe. Probably not. I don't think so. So why not? I mean, especially, again, if he wants to be a team player, sure. Let him have a seat at the table and run the show. Maybe he makes a college football playoff. But if he's going to be a prima donna, okay, he can go. He can go hang out with his good buddy TJ Finley at Tulane.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see it, though. It'd be cool to see Tulane have a 5-star quarterback, compete in the American Conference. And, honestly, he might have a better chance of making the playoffs at Tulane. I mean, if they get Nico, I mean, they go 11-1. They're probably in the under the college football playoff this year. So,
look, that's a very, very fair point. But, yeah, that's been a wild story. It's going to be more, it still hasn't played all the way out. So it'll be interesting to see it play all the way out.
But power rankings, are you ready?
Yes, let's share it to the world.
So the way we're going to do this, I think tell me if you agree. I think before the season starts, we'll do a more in depth of every single team. So today we'll just do kind of a quick power ranking.
Way too early power rankings. Way too early power rankings.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say the early power rankings at this point. Okay. But I'm going to go through our list. If you have any comments on the team, you're welcome to chime in. But I didn't make any notes. I just made the rankings. So
okay, and we can do this. I will just say real quickly. To me, it's so jumbled up because to me, there's a clear number 1. But then when you go from like 2 to 10 or 2 to 11, it's just you can do whatever. So let's go.
It's hard to predict in general. Just with the transfer portal, it's hard to remember who's on what roster now and how who's actually going to be good. But starting at 16, I actually thought this was a tough battle between 15 and 16, but I went with the Kentucky Wildcats. Mark Stoops, I think this is easily his last season as the Kentucky head coach. It was one of those things where they just didn't want to spend the money on a buyout. They didn't invest in their NIL for this year's roster, which is the only way you're going to succeed these days. Bringing in Zach Calzada to be your quarterback in the SEC, who's had a few attempts at this with 2 different schools, I just see this as a team that's okay with losing. They're investing all their money into basketball, and they need a new coach that's going to be willing to rack up some NIL for them. So Kentucky at 16. What are you?
And yeah, I would agree. There was them and really one other team, and I'm interested to see who you listed 15. But I'll say it. Mississippi State is the other team I was thinking.
And number 15, Mississippi State.
But I'll say this about Kentucky. If Mark Stoops is able to do what he's done in previous years, which is take teams that are supposed to be bad and make a bowl game with them, if he's able to take Zach Calzada and make a bowl game with him, then he deserves to be at Kentucky still. But I don't think it's going to happen, as you said.
Yeah, he's a great defensive coordinator. I think he'll go somewhere else and do that. But he's kind of like Gus Malzahn. It's time to go take the defensive coordinator spot. You're not a head coach anymore, buddy.
You're fired.
All right. So number 15 though, we got Mississippi State. And this is one of those where I think they have a great coach, but it's going to be hard for literally anybody to be successful at Mississippi State going forward. Just less NIL money than every single team in the SEC. They just, they've lost their whole basketball roster. They only have Josh Hubbard. Their football team, they have Blake Shapen this year. And obviously he got hurt last year. But, Michael Van Buren, star freshman, goes out, has a great year, and transfers to LSU. So this is probably going to be the future of Mississippi State. I just don't think they have a great roster. I put them. I like Jeff Lebby. I think they had, though they didn't win. He still hasn't won an SEC game, so I'll give him this. I think they're going to win one SEC game this year. So that's why I put them over Kentucky, who I don't think will win an SEC game this year. So give me Mississippi State at 15.
Yeah, I don't blame you there. And the only reason I'd give them the nod over Kentucky is just the recency bias. I didn't watch them play any football last year except the Ole Miss game, and they were competitive in that football game. So, yeah, I like Lebby too, but it's just a tough situation.
I honestly think the teams that are at 15 and 16 are the most obvious, and then I think it honestly gets kind of hard all the way from 4 to 14.
Oh, I have a clear 14. I think there's a team that's worse than everyone else, but but clearly better than those two. I'm interested to see what you say.
At 14, I had the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is a team that just got absolutely destroyed in the transfer portal. Other than Taylor Green, who I do believe has a lot of potential as a quarterback, had some really good games, and some other games he looked absolutely terrible. Obviously, he's one of the better running quarterbacks in college football, but they lost a lot of their roster in the transfer portal, and I think the worst thing that happened to him last year was winning the amount of games they did, because the whole team, everyone in Arkansas wanted Sam Pittman fired before the year, and then he went and beat Tennessee and won just enough games to come back this year.
Yeah.
Sam Pittman, another SEC coach, he's gone after this season. So right now we have Mark Stoops gone. We have
Sam Pittman.
Sam Pittman gone, and Jeff Lebby, he might be able to hold on to that spot. I feel bad for him because, again, I think he's a good coach. But, yeah, not looking good for those three coaches. Who was your 14?
I'm not going to say who. I think Arkansas, I get it. I didn't have them much higher. It wasn't Arkansas. I will reveal that team to you. You might have them way higher. Like you might. We'll see.
I probably do.
You're probably going to have them like at number 5, and I'll be like, oh, that was my team. I'll let you know. Whenever they come up. Yeah. I think Taylor Green. I think really all that you're saying is very fair. I just kind of have that bias of I watched them really play. I watched a lot of Arkansas football twice last year. One was against Auburn, where they looked pretty good. 2 was against Oklahoma State, where they looked pretty good, at least for the portion of the game I was watching. So,
yeah. They lost all their offensive linemen transferred, their star tight end transferred, all their best receivers transferred. And so I'm not very positive about them.
They're probably toast. That'd be my number 13. But move on up to 13, Michael.
13, this might be controversial to some people. It's not to me. Give me the Vanderbilt Commodores. Your fairy tale runs over. Sorry. Diego Pavia, he's not the quarterback everyone seems to be making him out to be. It's a good story. He was great at Mexico State, but obviously he gets this extra year with JUCO. But another team that just doesn't have the roster. I do like Clark Lee. I think they'll win a couple SEC games, but I think Vanderbilt will go back to being what Vanderbilt is this year. Just not very competitive in the SEC. I don't think this roster is nearly as good as the rest of the SEC. They're right down there with the bottom 2 teams, but I put them up. I put them here at 13 just because I believe in Clark Lee. I think he could be a head coach somewhere else one day. The fact that he went 7-6 at Vanderbilt's impressive. I think that's what they went this past year. But that wasn't your 14?
No. So you said I'm a fan of Clark Lee too, but you said you had Vanderbilt at 13?
Yeah. The roster just isn't great.
You're insane because they should be 14th. They should be 14th because as you said, the Cinderella slipper it's long gone. Diego Pavia, is he a good story? Whatever. Did he beat Alabama on an off day? Did he beat Auburn when Auburn couldn't beat Alabama State at that point in the year? Yeah, he did. But what else did he do? Won 4 games in the regular season, beat Georgia Tech in a bowl game. Diego Pavia is not a good quarterback. He is not a good quarterback. Really, he hasn't been that good wherever he's been. Even when he beat Auburn at Vanderbilt, he was like 9 for 20 in that game. Or 9 for 22 or something. I don't know, but he is not a good quarterback. Clark Lee's a very good coach. And to have Vanderbilt at 14th in the SEC is, quite frankly, an accomplishment. Not many people, you or I could not do that. Most people could not do that. But yeah, Vanderbilt sucks.
Yeah.
Diego Pavia sucks. Just because you got lucky and beat Alabama once and beat Auburn once doesn't make you good. Vanderbilt, I'm sorry, you still suck.
Pavia, it's time to update your LinkedIn profile, buddy. 6 years, 6 years in college, and you still didn't make the NFL. Yeah, gosh, we're gonna beat them down in Nashville. It's gonna be a 90% Auburn fans. Ooh,
Oh yeah, we're finally gonna get our revenge on Pavia, and it's gonna be sweet.
12. All right, so number 12. Now this team I think has more potential than the other teams I've mentioned for me to be completely wrong about. But number 12, I'm going to go Missouri. Bo Prabula, I probably butchered that name, but hasn't ever started a game in college football. Missouri paid him like $1.5 million to come there. I'm not sure that he's going to be SEC ready right off the rip. They did pull off a pretty impressive transfer portal class. I like Eli Drinkowitz. His strategy is, I don't care about having these young stars. He wants to get proven. He'd rather have proven guys over young stars. So he did do a good job in the transfer portal. It's just that, he wasn't very successful with Luther Burden, first round NFL receiver, Brady Cook. I mean, this team this past year was a huge disappointment. They almost lost to Auburn at home. I think the roster's worse this year, if I'm being completely honest. And the SEC is just stacked, so I have them at 12.
Missouri's a team. It's kind of just a pass for me. I don't have much thoughts. I have one thought, not a whole lot, and it's kind of an irrelevant thought, honestly. I'll say this: whenever you feel like when Eli Drinkowitz has been at Missouri, whenever you thought he had like a really good team that might break out, like this past year, it's kind of a meh. But whenever like you kind of sleep on them, they kind of sneak up and they bite someone, or they're a little better than you think. So, yeah, I mean, pass. I think at the end of the season. Will they end up 6-6 or 7-5? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, this is we're at the range now where if you're at 12, you probably made a bowl game. So
no, yeah, Missouri's a good and Missouri. While I say that, I think Missouri is probably around this range. Like if Missouri ended up being like the 5th best team in the conference, would that really be that surprising? Not to me.
And the crazy thing is, it's not like if you took this Missouri team and you threw them in the Big 12, they might be my pick to win it, which is just so crazy how college football landscape has changed. Mm-hmm. But moving on, number 11, I think this is where you start getting some decent teams. Number 11, I have Oklahoma. I think this is Brett Venables' last year as the coach at Oklahoma. I think the only thing holding them up here is that they got the number 1 transfer portal quarterback in John Mateer. And you've got me on record saying John Mateer is overrated. I mean, he started 1 year at Washington State where they didn't even play a Pac-12 schedule. So basically, you get a G5 quarterback. A successful G5 quarterback is who you're banking on here. And they have Deion Burks is back, and he's a pretty solid receiver. But Oklahoma has a really tough schedule as well. I don't think John Mateer is going to be enough for them to be, a 9-win team. But I think, they could go win 6 or 7 games this year.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. Mateer, overrated. The best transfer portal quarterback resides in Auburn, Alabama, and used to play for Oklahoma. Mateer, I mean, he's fine. He's better than. I mean, I was gonna say he's better than that freshman they had probably, but he's not better than Arnold. I don't know. Boring team. Venables, they don't seem to like him too much over there. I think that you probably have him slated. They're a team that could pop. I mean, again, if Oklahoma ended up barely sneaking their way into the college football playoff, it wouldn't be that surprising. But I think ultimately they probably end up right around here, 7-5, that kind of range.
So this is where my power rankings changed today or a few days ago. Number 10, I have Tennessee. Yes, they were a college football playoff team last year, but we don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. This could change. It could change my prediction, but they're also replacing a lot on defense with solid players. They're replacing their guys with. They lost their running back Dylan Sampson, who was right up there with Jarquez Hunter as one of the best running backs in the SEC this past year. I just think they're replacing too much, and They didn't have a great receiving core this past year. We're not really sure who their quarterback is. It might be a true freshman. I might even have him too high. I think they do have a favorable schedule though, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them win 8 games, but 8-9 games even if they can figure out a decent quarterback situation. Just not expecting them to make a college football playoff run again.
Yeah, fair enough. It's kind of a tough team to rank right now, but we can go on up to number 9.
Yeah, number 9. This is where I might have my first controversial take, but number 9 in the SEC, give me the Alabama Crimson Tide. This isn't a troll. I know that's what a lot of these guys think. That's what I'm doing with them. But, I saw an article today. Ty Simpson projected to be the starting quarterback for Alabama. And
we never thought this day would come. It's so beautiful. I'm sorry.
So I texted one of my friends over in Tuscaloosa, who's a big son of one of their biggest donors, and I said, "Hey, what are you hearing about this Alabama football team?" He said, "Hey, everything's looking really good. The receivers are looking good. The running backs are looking good." But he said the donors are quote unquote worried about the quarterback situation right now with Alabama. 5-star Keelan Russell isn't exactly panning out to what they maybe thought he was right off the rip. I mean, he has plenty of time to commit, but if you remember with Keelan Russell, he was a 3-star when he committed to Alabama. And
the Bama bump?
Yeah, exactly. He was committed to SMU, and he committed to Alabama and instantly becomes a 5-star.
That's how it goes.
Plays football in Texas, right? There's like 40 touchdowns, like 1 pick, and all of a sudden he moves up to the number 1 quarterback. But let me tell you this. He had the number 1 receiver in all of high school football. I mean, dude, if I had the number 1 receiver in all of high school football throwing against high schoolers, I would like to think I would be a decent quarterback myself. And so I think he was a little bit overrated. But seriously getting into it, this Alabama team, obviously they have Ryan Williams. They have Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton. So pretty solid receiving core. Horton's one of those guys I think is getting a little overhyped. I mean, he only had like 500 yards with Cam Ward as his quarterback, but they're hyping him up to be, this big-time starting wide receiver. But, hey, Ryan Williams is a top 5 player in college football easily. No denying that. The running back room, they lost Justice Haynes. Just not the same type of running back room we grew up watching. And that's no shot at Alabama. I mean, their running back went to the NFL every single year. It's just the defense isn't as impressive. They lost some offensive linemen. But it's Alabama, so it's hard for me to put them down any more than 9. I think they have a decently favorable schedule their way, so give me Alabama at 9.
Yeah, only comment I really have to add there is you talking about the donors and fans being worried about this quarterback. You're 100% right. And how do you know this? Look at the 8A crowd. Did you see the side-by-side picture of their 2025 8A crowd compared to their 2024? I mean, it is pathetic. It's one of my favorite pictures of all time. How in 2024 you just had this stadium packed, fans everywhere. In 2025, it looked like our high school football game. I loved it. I want to get it, frame it, and put it on the wall.
Kalen DeBoer is no Bruce Pearl, I just don't think he's a man of the people, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think he's great with his players, and I don't think he's great at getting the fans involved and stuff like this. I do think he's a decent coach. I'll be completely honest. I think he's more of an X's and O's guy and not a people guy. And you have to be a people guy in college football.
Fair enough.
But moving on. Yeah, moving on from Alabama. Number 8, give me the Ole Miss Rebels. Another team who's replacing a first-round quarterback, but they killed it in the transfer portal. And Lane Kiffin's one of these guys. He's starting to prove every single year that, hey, it doesn't matter who we lose. We're still going to be good. I think Lane Kiffin is debatably the best coach in the SEC right now. So
Whiffin.
Yeah, but, losing a first-round quarterback is going to hurt. But I have heard some reports earlier today that Austin Simmons, the guy who's replacing them, is looking very good. I also heard they're potentially bringing in a quarterback from Ferris State. I don't know anything about him, but I heard they're bringing him in. Just heard that right before I got on here. But Austin Simmons, I think he's one of these guys. I mean, first of all, being a top 8 SEC team probably means you're a top 15 team in the country. So this is no shot at Ole Miss. I actually think Ole Miss will be pretty good this upcoming year. I think they'll be 8 or 9 win team. I just think they'll be right outside of the college football playoff.
Yeah, I think Austin Simmons, I would probably have Ole Miss a little higher just because if it was just me doing the rankings, because I think he looked really good against Georgia last year. I listened to that game on the radio as I came back from a work fishing trip, and from what it sounded like on the radio, he did pretty good. But yeah, fair enough. I hear you.
Yeah.
My cat's tail whipping in right there. I don't know if you just saw it, and then you can see his face. But yeah.
Yeah, here at 7, though, we have the Texas A&M Aggies, a team that's right there with Ole Miss. Marcel Reed's coming back. He's a guy I got to see improve as a passer. Great runner, obviously, but I can sit there and watch him, and he's the type of guy who he looks at his receiver as soon as you can tell what receiver he's going to throw it to, because as soon as the play starts, he looks at his receiver and he throws it straight to him. He doesn't sit back and make many reads, but he was a great runner. He beat LSU. I think he will improve this season, but A&M's one of those teams. They absolutely went in the transfer portal and transformed that receiver room. They have KC Concepcion from NC State, who I think is a first or second round receiver. Kind of strange with the Micah Hudson situation. Was a 5-star and was at Texas A&M, and then he left and just stopped showing up to practice. Rumors has it he might end up transferring back to Texas Tech. But they did jack up that receiver room. Marcel Reed's going to need it. They have a great offensive line. I'm replacing some guys on defense, but I think they'll be a pretty solid team here again.
You see, I would have them a little lower. Again, these are a tough ranking. I would have tough rankings. I think Ole Miss is a little better to me, but it's close. I get it. They had that Aggie money, and you follow this stuff a little closer than me. So I'll definitely take my thoughts with a grain of salt.
Move
on to number 6?
Yeah, number 6, I'll be honest, I was a little more skeptical about putting them at 6, but I did it anyway. Give me the South Carolina Gamecocks. This is all because of Lenora Sellers. And they have some really good receivers themselves that came back. They have one of the best I'll call them the best defensive end in college football. So they've got some good players. I just kind of like some teams you see in college basketball. I think they have a solid core group of guys, but I'm not exactly sure how good their depth is. Like if Lenora Sellers gets injured, this team's over. But Lenora Sellers has potential to be a first-round NFL quarterback. This guy is really impressive, can do it all. As long as he stays healthy, I think this will be a top 6 SEC team.
Lenora Sellers very good. Do I think he's overrated? Yeah. But he's still very good. I mean, just because I think he's overrated, people treat him like he's the next Cam Newton, and I'm like, well, let's pump the brakes there. He's very good. South Carolina's going to be very good. I like Shane Beamer a lot. Yeah, I mean, I could see them in around 6.
Yeah. Here at 5, so here we're getting to the top 5. Number 5, give me the Florida Gators. So when we're doing these power rankings, I'm not saying I think they'll finish 5 in the standings. I'm saying, hey, you play this team on a neutral site who I think will win type of thing. And you got DJ Lagway, who was the number 1 quarterback in last year's class. Looked very impressive when he took over as the starter this year. And Dallas Wilson, I'm telling you right now, I've watched a lot of high school film on this guy. He is the next coming of Jeremiah Smith. He's going to be the best receiver in this freshman class coming out this year. I think Florida's got an improved team. They returned a lot. They have good receivers and maybe the best pro quarterback in all of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all. It's all fair stuff. I think you hit the nail on the head. They probably are a top 5 SEC team. Their final ranking isn't going to reflect that, and that's a shame. I hope Napier gets to stay.
Yeah, same. Number 4. Now this might come as a surprise, as a little low, but give me the Auburn Tigers. We got to start off. This is the best wide receiver room in college football, and I don't even think it's a debate. I mean, you got guys that are second-string receivers that would be starting on every single SEC team. It's insane. Right now you're looking at, let's say 3 wide receivers start. We'll go Cam Coleman, top 5 receiver in the country. Eric Singleton, top 5 receiver in the country. And then you have Perry Thompson, who I think will be a starter. I mean, probably a top 25 receiver in the country. He had 3 touchdowns at Auburn's 8A. He looked absolutely insane. You got Malcolm Simmons, who was a stud this past year, is only going to be better. The only problem for him is that he kind of plays the same slot role as Eric Singleton. I think we'll just see more 4 wide receiver sets for Auburn this year. You got Horatio Fields. You got Sam Turner. I mean, you got Bryce Kane, who hasn't been talked about much. Just an absolutely stacked wide receiver room. Tons of depth. You look at the quarterback room. You have 5-star Deuce Knight, who's looked way better than expected. But, they've also said Jackson Arnold's looking pretty good. Mm-hmm. And, as you alluded to earlier, me and you both agree that Jackson Arnold was the best transfer in this year's transfer class. Jackson Arnold was the Gatorade National Player of the Year out of high school. Was thrown to a bunch of walk-ons here at Oklahoma this past year. Now he has the best receiving core in the nation. You pair that with Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb, who have 2 years of SEC experience at running back. Auburn brings the most experienced offensive line in the country. 86% of offensive line production returning, the only 14% being Percy Lewis, who was our worst offensive lineman, and we replaced him with the number 1 offensive tackle in the transfer portal. Defense, absolutely stacked. DBs are returning. Jalen Crawford's returning. Kayan Lee's returning. You add Anquan Fegans and Eric Winters to that mix. That secondary is stacked. Defensive line, you have Keldrick Falk, who's projected first round. You got Malik Autry coming in here. Malik Blockton from last year. Just a lot of guys returning. The only inexperienced room is that linebacker room. And that could be an area of concern, but I don't really think so. That was one of those rooms that, a lot of Auburn fans thought we'd attack the transfer portal and get a bunch of linebackers, but we really didn't because defensive coordinator said, hey, I like these guys. I like the guys we had. We just had good starters last year. And so I just think this Auburn team's stacked all around. Obviously, Alex McPherson, too. Hopefully he can get back in good health. We're going to need him to be a decent kicker. But I think this Auburn team has the potential to be higher than 4, honestly, when you word it the way I just did. Your thoughts?
I completely agree with you. So last year, for those who may not be familiar, because we didn't have a podcast at this point in time, I tweeted at our good friends over at the Dog Show podcast, and I told them that Auburn, at that point in time last year, had a better roster than Georgia. And in retrospect, clearly I jumped the gun on that. But looking at this year, Auburn has a better roster than Georgia, and I'm not jumping the gun on it. And we have a better roster than most teams in the SEC, if not all teams in the SEC. So, you look at quarterback, Jackson Arnold. He was the highest-rated quarterback in his class. He's the highest-rated quarterback in Auburn history. You look at the wide receiver room. Auburn might have 3 or 4 wide receivers who are better than Georgia's best wide receiver. Our wide receiver room is stacked. We have the best offensive and defensive line that we've seen at Auburn since 2017. This team has a chance to be very special this year, and I'm very excited. Can't freaking wait. Football season needs to get here soon.
Yeah, I will say if Hugh Freeze can't win with this team, I will start to admit that I'm concerned. I think I'm still on the Hugh Freeze train. I think he's a great coach. You look at what he did at Ole Miss. Ole Miss was nothing until Hugh Freeze got there and got them rolling. They hadn't been anything since Eli Manning. There was a huge stretch where they were just terrible every year. And he turned that. He started recruiting at that place like crazy. If NIL wasn't a thing, we would be Auburn would probably have the number 1, 2, 3 recruiting class every single year. Luckily for other schools, they can pay players. But enough of that. We'll go on to number 3. Give me the Georgia Bulldogs. And this is, like you said, a team I think will probably end up being a little bit lower than 3. But, I just couldn't put it. I couldn't put them any lower than 3 just from their past few years, how good they've been. Gunnar Stockton is a guy who I think will actually be a decent SEC quarterback. I don't think Carson Beck was, all too good this year. And Georgia brought in some decent transfer portal receivers. That was their big hole last year, is that they didn't have any good receivers. They brought in some decent transfer portal receivers. Zachariah Branch, debatably the fastest guy in college football. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see Georgia. Obviously, they're stacked with 5 and 4 stars all over their defense. They had to replace a lot of offensive linemen. I think they take a step back this year. I think Auburn beats them at home this year. But I mean, this is Georgia Bulldogs. They're going to be in playoff contention. All right. So last but not least, give me number one. I'll say number one first. Give me the LSU Tigers. Number two, give me the Texas Longhorns.
Oh, come on.
I think LSU did better than anyone as when it comes to bringing in receivers in the transfer portal. Garrett Nussmeier is easily the best returning college football quarterback that actually started last year. I'm a huge believer in this LSU team. They returned a lot on defense. I really think this team is 100% in the playoffs. Them versus Florida is going to be a great game this year. But yeah, give me LSU, give me two, give me Texas. Obviously, I think they're probably going to be a playoff team as well. But Arch Manning, not as experienced. Me and you have said it before. We both think he might end up being the best quarterback in the SEC. But just I had to. I'm not like the rest of these reporters. I'm not taking the easy answer of Texas. I think LSU wins the SEC this year.
I would flip-flop it personally. I'd have Texas. But I get it. You make a good point where Arch has the higher ceiling, but Nussmeier has the lower floor. I'd agree with that,
Yeah.
and it's certainly true. The thing that I'd kind of hang my hat on is coaching. I think Sark's a much better coach than Brian Kelly. I don't think much of Kelly as a coach, but he's got a good roster. So I like it being bold for the number one team in the SEC.
Yeah, but that's all we got on our SEC power rankings, and we'll before the SEC season starts, we'll do another one for everyone, and everyone's going to be dying for it. So
Absolutely. Our thousands of followers are going to be wanting it. But that's going to be it for this episode of Auburn Anonymous. Again, Auburn Anonymous brought to you by MyPillow. Use the promo code AAKNOWS to get all those great offers and discounts we mentioned to start the show.
we love you, MyPillow. Thank you.
Yeah. But, that's it for this episode. We're out.
Diego Pavia, you suck.
Yeah, Pavia, Pavia, you suck. War Damn, AA knows.